favorite Fantom show, starring your most reviled, most hated guy in all of Fantom, me, Corval here, with the most beloved Dracula Presley. How you doing today, Dracula?
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, I'm pleased to be here with the largest villain of all time on Fantom. So thanks for joining me. Or rather, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to be here, dude. And, you know, I'm not just having you. You're the co-host, dude. This is your show, too.
Oh,
I just took ownership of it. I just dominated right there. See, that's why I'm most hated. I'm excited, dude. I'm really excited. Fantom's really been flipping around lately, so I'm excited to be talking about it again. Like, a lot's happened since I've talked about Fantom a lot. But I've been keeping my eye on it, dude, because I got this big old bag. You know, I don't know about you.
Yeah. I've been praying for some rain for my bags to just pump.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm just like a speculator. I'm just a personality really in the crypto space. But you, Dracula, you're like a true builder, dude. So that's why I kind of need you here, man. You can kind of ground me into the realities of it. So like, what have you been working on through the bear, dude?
All kinds of stuff, really. The bear was a desolate, dark time. But, we just continued to work on things, hoping for better times.
Yeah, today is a big day for the show, right, Dracula? We're going to be covering, kind of previously on Fantom, since a lot of people are kind of retuning in to what's happening on the chain. Last thing a lot of people know is like the multi-chain fiasco, where are things at now? And that's not all, dude. That's not all Fantom's about, dude. There's been other things going on the chain. We're going to cover some of that. We're going to be covering the liquid staking. We're going to be covering some new exchanges, new projects coming up, and the ETH Denver highlights, right?
Like, yeah. Lots of news dropped at ETH Denver. Lots of bombshells, lots of hype. So that was a really electric few days there on the timeline when everything just, came out at the Michael Kahn presentation. So pretty exciting stuff. I mean, I think we all know that an albatross hanging over Fantom for a long time. The multi-chain fiasco didn't help the situation, but a canonical stable coin, which would be huge. A properly backed native stable coin.
Kong announced that at ETH Denver.
Yeah. So they announced that. Of course, for the more for the Moon Boys, there was a very big announcement about they are working on a network-wide airdrop, which, of course, that just, set everything on fire, because who doesn't love an airdrop? For people that, stuck around on Fantom during the bear, they're saying it is going to, involve like activity and stuff. So hopefully those that stuck around and,
You're telling me that was one of the announcements, a network-wide airdrop for people participating over like some time period on Fantom. Like, is it a Fantom airdrop? Like the foundation's dropping this?
Yeah. So the foundation is working on like a network airdrop. I think ultimately, if we're going to compare it to other chains, that's probably going to usher in a lot of TVL and a lot of activity across the eco, all the big projects, all the small projects, but pretty bullish. I think it also signals that, that the foundation is, ready to invest, a good bit of money into the network and a good bit of money into bringing TVL back to the network. Because, there's no denying with the bear market and multi and some other stuff, we lost a lot of TVL. We lost a lot of volume.
Yeah.
So I think that is huge news. I think that's going to bring a lot of people in. People remember the DeFi Degen original Fantom first run. I think they can bring it back with this.
Yeah, that's huge to me, because the impression I think I've always gotten, a lot of people kind of got soured on the foundation, was that they had the big, huge runway, and they didn't seem to want to be spreading the wealth around in any kind of way, especially when people are the hardest up. So the fact that they're engaging in an airdrop at all is kind of like surprising, and really seems to signal to me like a real pivot, a real turn to how this ship is being steered. I think kind of in a good way. I mean, I have mixed feelings about airdrops in general, but it seems like Fan kind of could really it seems like an example of a chain that could probably really use one just to kind of get that new blood in, like you're saying. And I mean, especially after multi-chain, where it felt for a while that Fantom was kind of isolated because that was the big bridge blown up. All right, how do you even get to the chain now? Now, I mean, you can go through Axelar. I personally use like Squid Router. But you got other options, right? Still no centralized exchange listing though, but maybe they're working on that too. I mean, they got a couple, but not the big ones, not the ones I want to use.
And as a person that does like build in the background, I think that they're finding a balance with you have the airdrop, but also on the builder side, they announced 90% gas monetization, which if you're a protocol or you're looking for a chain to launch on, I mean, that is a huge incentive. I think you combine those two together, you've kind of got people that are going to come in that want to play around on the chain, see what they can get worked out for a potential airdrop. But I think that gas monetization, I mean, not that anyone's like sleeping on it. I mean, it was a big announcement, but I feel like that makes my ears perk up. Like if I'm a builder, that is for the potential volume that Fantom could have, to get that kind of monetization off gas would be massive.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, gas fees on Fantom notoriously cheap, part of the big draw of it, but that is also like really big. Economically, I'm kind of curious how all that works, because I figured that there'd be that's kind of how a lot of revenue or money is generated. But 90% is huge, dude. That's massive, man. That's taking like already their most attractive feature and making it even more attractive for the builders, right? Like,
yeah, and I think that was also a large. A lot of people credit their original grant program in the last run as being what brought so many DeFi protocols in and so many people in. But at the same time, that program in a lot of ways was unsustainable. Because you can only put forth so much money for projects, and eventually that has to cut off. So I think this is a great way to say, hey, I mean, you're going to have these fees coming in, and if your protocol has a lot of volume, that's infinite, that's indefinite. So there's no shutting off of the hose there. So I think it's pretty brilliant. I think everything I heard at ETH Denver, it just sounded very like aggressive. And I think for Fantom, it had kind of been a while since they kind of just came out and, plopped it on the table and were like, here you go, boys. So, I think it's an exciting group of developments for sure. So
yeah. Kong's out there flexing his muscles. I saw a tweet that said he could deadlift 235. So he's feeling strong, dude. Maybe that's just what it is.
He's just been working out the entire bear market, just getting ready for this. So
yeah, now he's out the gym and now he's ready to crack some skulls, dude. He's ready to turn Fantom around. It definitely seems like to me that Fantom is really the foundation is really trying to play to their strengths and finally, I mean, I don't want to sound too much like a naysayer, but like, they're finally waking up to some of what their weaknesses are and are taking some actual actions towards that. Which maybe might be an unfair characterization. Maybe they were always quiet about it before,
Well, I think that, this is a Fantom centric show, but I think we have to be honest that the bear was really hard.
I feel like we got a good grasp on kind of like the hotness that they're really talking about, like how Fantom is really orienting itself in the future. Let's talk a little bit about the multi-chain thing some more. Let's get a little bit more in depth on it, because like, we all know, hopefully if you're watching a show so centric on Fantom, you would know what the multi-chain incident is, but it was a bridge exploit, right, Dracula? But it was like a little bit more complicated than that.
It was kind of like, it was basically the older wrapped bridging nightmare, like in a complete package. Because people always had, there were a lot of people that had reservations about the way Multi handled their bridging. It was wrapped assets, where they used routers, and you would put the assets in a router, and then, the router would send the assets to another chain. Well, sounds a little centralized to me, doesn't it? That you
Yeah.
have just these massive routers that and it's not even that it's not even, oh, it's centralized. The routers are holding the real assets and shooting out the basically fake assets.
Yeah.
So Multi always claimed, we have all these validators, if a server falls, or, if a server or a router or whatever, falls, we have all these other validators, and it, kind of sections it off, like that would be in your mind. Okay, that's how they make it a little more decentralized. The nightmare maybe not quite as scary that, oh, everything would just be in these routers, and what if somebody just, said, I'm going to shut them off or whatever. Yeah. So basically they made those assurances, and it was actually the nightmare scenario that one man was basically
lied. They straight out lied.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because essentially one guy, yes, they had routers and servers, whatever, but one guy actually controlled most of them and had the access to the contracts and had so when the CCP or whoever scooped them up, not sure. Maybe it was Russia. I don't know. He gets scooped up, and basically that's the nightmare scenario. He's scooped up. No one has access to this stuff. So it's just there in limbo.
I remember this. Dude, it was so crazy because it was literally the nightmare scenario for the most, I guess, ardent crypto person. Like when you think of like the typical like super crypto person, they're very like libertarian, decentralized, big government, bad and all that. And the multi-chain thing is crazy because one of the biggest, most centralized governments in the world just took this guy, arrested him, and then all of the money that we were using is just gone pretty much. Just like removed from existence, because like you're saying, all the real assets are sitting in these routers. So everyone's assets that had been bridged to Fantom, all their USDC, all their ETH, all their Bitcoin, anything is now just worthless, essentially, right?
Yeah, because now, they're relying on, especially for their stables, these came from an era of, what they called fractionalized stable coins. And that's why you saw so many protocols, completely have death spirals and stuff, because, basically there's not real collateral backing this stuff. So, when that bridge, the Fantom, was cut off, essentially it made those assets worthless. There was no way to get them off chain and, make them have value again. So yeah, I mean,
unless the CCP were to return this man and allow him to go back to his work, which seemed extremely, extremely unlikely.
I would say so. He's probably in a lot of trouble wherever he is right now. But
sorry, real quick, I hate to keep cutting you off, but do you remember that like there was a little glimmer of hope at one point, because like, but it was like bittersweet, because it was like his sister got his private keys and was like, I might be able to fix this.
Yeah.
And people were like, what the fuck, dude? Why is that even possible that you can do that?
Well, I love the idea of a part of the story I heard too. I love this idea that they were like, hey, if somebody can do it, we'll like come watch you do it or something. So I like the idea of these people just staring at a computer, pressing buttons like, did that send it? And like, somebody's like slapping them like in the head, like get the money, but they couldn't sort it out. So, and then, over time, there's been a couple mysterious router awakenings where funds have transferred and then it goes dead again. So yeah, I mean, the whole thing was obviously terrible for a lot of chains. The difference with Fantom, and that's why we discussed the stablecoin, why it's so significant earlier, is, for instance, if you were on take something like Avalanche or whatever, where they had both native canonical kind of stable coins and they had multi. So yes, everything went crazy and still took a hit, but at the end of the day, people were still able to move into those fully backed stables.
Yeah.
They probably still took, I think on the first day, I don't think there was really anything you could do to avoid like a 15-20% hit in those first hour or two, but at least you could have saved something. Luckily on Fantom, I did put out a tweet that day immediately where I said, go to Equalizer, swap out the Axle like as fast as you can. There wasn't nearly as much liquidity there quite yet. But I know a lot. That's what I did. I immediately was like, oh shit. So hopefully some people were able to do that, but I do know that, yeah, I mean, it wasn't until after the incident that the layer 0 and Axelar liquidity like really got, pumped up. That was what put us, really, I mean, we were still at the time, I want to say top 20 in TVL, even in the bear market. And yeah, I mean, that was just like I said earlier, it was a strong kick in the ribs if you were already down. So
yeah, a mighty blow to Fantom for sure. I was pulling it up just now because I'm 27 now on DeFi Llama in terms of TVL. But yeah, Fantom's always been bouncing around in that kind of range. But yeah, I feel like we're just now starting to see the recovery from the multi-chain thing. So yeah, I mean that's the multi-chain story, kind of like in a nutshell. And from there, lots of people really salty, lots of people begging the foundation do something, do anything, like try to like reimburse this. And to be fair to them, that's what do you that's huge, man. Like your business partner essentially defrauded you, like lied to you about like
yeah.
how their operations were run, and your customers are screwed over. But they're doing what they're supposed to do. They filed a lawsuit in Singapore, and this is kind of why we're talking about it again, not just because it's a watershed moment in Fantom history, but because now we're starting to see some progression on this storyline. I believe the Singapore court said that we're going to liquidate Multichain's assets. We're going to reimburse you as much as possible. They've been awarded a settlement. I'm not sure how Singapore law works, but I'm sure it's not that different from American law.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, it is exciting news, but now what you're going to look at is I'm assuming they'll first try to liquidate what they can from, multi-chain, which who knows if that's anything. And then I guess it'll probably, assume drill down into going after individual people and all that stuff. So it will be, these are never quick, speedy things in terms of process, but it's a step in the right direction. Their Fantom's doing what they should do in this situation. I think what they're hoping as well is that even though this process does usually could take years, I think what they're hoping is that if they get some kind of assurance from the court, like, you guys are right, they're wrong, or whatever, or the money will come once we liquidate and all that. I think what they're hoping is that then they can at least maybe go to like Circle and Tether or whoever else and say like, look, this is going to be ruled for us. We can start maybe negotiating on the locked assets because they did lock assets that, were moving around during the multi stuff, people that were moving, so.
Interesting. That's a good point. That makes sense. From my understanding, I thought the court had already kind of ruled in Fantom's favor because multi-chain didn't show up. So it was like a ruling by whatever, which is kind of disheartening if you're expecting to get anything out of multi-chain. Because to me, it makes it seem like maybe they're like, there's no one there to represent them anymore. Like it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I assume is, I mean, like I said, this is pure speculation. But what like I said, that's the chain I imagine is that they will go after the company and there's going to be nothing or no one to actually really go after in that sense. But then, I guess once they go through that, they can start, going through other, I don't know if there's like other LLCs or, other owners or, whoever, they can hopefully start going after that. I mean, the money is somewhere. So
yeah,
they've moved, I'm just hoping that, I think that would be very bullish. If they can, while this market's heating up, in the next however many months, be able to say, look, like, we are going to get these funds back eventually. And because we know that's going to happen, we can start working out some kind of redemption plan or, something. And I know that Andre several times has alluded to, if we kind of get our ducks in a row, we're not opposed to like trying to figure that out, people being able to make claims or, so yeah, it would be super bullish. So yeah, it was good news from that arena. Honestly, I wouldn't have expected something like this to happen so fast. So I
think
tend
it's
to
quite
believe
good.
that they are working on it like for real,
One of several, I think, catalysts that are kind of indicating that the winds are turning in Fantom's favor. If we can put a a final chapter. What am I trying to say? If we could put a pin in this, close it off. We could close
Yeah.
this. If we could close multi-chain off, it'd be better for everyone who transacts on Fantom. Better, it'd be the best thing ever. But it's not the only thing, right? Like Fantom is still operating. There are still people building. There's still things going on. And we can participate in these narratives as they're emerging, right? Like Fantom is not a dead chain just because this multi-chain things happened.
Yeah.
It's just a setback. So like now, the hot thing that I'm seeing a lot of people talk about on Fantom right now is liquid staking, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of my personal favorites, Beethoven introducing staked Fantom, which I'm definitely going to be using because why not? Liquid staking, dude. I could just stake it, get some APR, and keep messing around. But you were telling me Millennium Club also has one, MFTM.
Yeah, so I haven't played around with it yet. I don't actually even their interface and stuff. I'm not positive it's even live yet, but they're introducing MFTM, which is also some liquid staking. So excited to try both of them. The Beethoven version was originally, I believe it was the Stater program, and I loved it, especially when at that time, the Fantom validators were still, I think it was still earning 14, 15%. So you were like stacking that and they had pools and they were like extra incentivizing the pools on Beethoven. So I remember reading that a while back that they were, having a governance vote about taking over the program because Stater had sunset it. Obviously everything Beethoven does is just really solid, well thought out. So nice to just have some, liquid staking options here, especially while the market is, starting to get better. What I'd like to see is not just on Beethoven, hopefully maybe like Spooky, Equalizer, Velocimeter, wherever. I'm hoping that, everyone will kind of embrace these so that we can have pools on all the dexes.
Yeah. It seems like a no-brainer to me. I mean, like you'd want to just capture that flowing capital, right? Like an easy win. There's like the staking, the liquid staking is the hot narrative right now. Everyone's doing it. Everyone loves it. There is that level of risk involved that I think people are kind of. It's just such a broad and nebulous risk. I think a lot of people aren't really worried about it because it's like one of those things where we would all have to be boned for it to be a problem. Like if we could all get boned at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, the good news with this is unlike multi-chain, you are putting collateral in every time you are, taking one out. So there are of course still risks, but inherently I think it's a good thing. I mean, I think every chain needs these, it's always just, it makes sense. And it's always just like a bullish thing. I remember in the bear market, every now and then I'd get hit up by a new chain or whatever, hey, like, are you interested in doing something? And every single time, I mean, not every time, but 2 out of 3 times it would just be like someone hit me up to be like, do you want to build some, liquid staking stuff?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, you need it really. I mean, and that's something that, the bigger money degens and stuff also, they like to see that. So so that's extremely bullish in my opinion.
They love to rehypothecate an asset. You know what I mean? They love to to get
because that's what we're going to do next is then we'll have liquid staking for the liquid staking. And then when you do that about 3 or 4 times, then we've achieved, and surprisingly, like no risk, the more contracts you just keep putting it in and earning more year, there's just zero risk. So you just keep doing it. And then these guys come with all this money and they love it. They eat it up. So
it's going to be beautiful, baby. So that's something to be looking forward to. I would say keep an eye on, you know what I mean? Because like you're saying, Dracula, more protocols are going to be integrating this asset. So you're going to be getting more yield opportunities in the coming future, probably, most likely. I bet my bottom dollar on it. I'm stoked for it. Next one up. I wanted to talk a little bit about Shadow Exchange because we've been talking about $24 a little bit. He's been messaging me about it. And I will say this, it's a cool looking site. It's a cool looking project. The thing about it is it seems to me to be like just a summary if you're unfamiliar with it. I guess number one, I'm all disorganized here. Number one with a bullet. they just did a raise, right? They did an LGE. I think it just wrapped up. By the time this is out, I think it'll already be capped out. I think there's only like $10,000 left. But it's essentially a solidly type fork with some changes, right? Like there's a time weighted, like there's a penalty for selling your VE and early, right? Or like selling your stake token early. You take like pretty hefty cuts depending on how long you've been staked for, or like how early you want out of the withdrawal period. That seems to be like one of the big innovations. The biggest one, I think, is like you were saying, you were telling me before the show, concentrated liquidity on Fantom. This is the first example of concentrated liquidity on Fantom we got. To my knowledge, it seems so.
I think it's, I'm racking my brain here. And I mean, Equalizer does have these new concentrated liquidity vaults. But I do think as far as just, hey, you're going to the exchange and you're making LP and all that. I think it is kind of like the first concentrated liquidity DEX. Which, we were talking before the show. I was just saying that I was kind of surprised that, we don't really have that yet. Because it's a more complex game, but it is where, people that are going to be big LPers and all that kind of stuff, they want to see that because they're going to earn way more fees than doing a, typical 50-50 LP split, where you're covering all the price, options, and, you have a ton of impermanent loss. And, so I think that was like a good, it was like someone needed to do it,
Yeah.
And
It's a big gaping hole in the market, baby.
Yeah.
Nature affords a vacuum,
And I don't know everything about the project, but I saw that about the, you do lock your tokens to earn all kinds of fees and emissions and stuff. But I do think that was like a nice little innovation to offer like an early, get out early. You sacrifice some of your earnings or whatever, but like let's look at the last run. I was going to make a t-shirt that said I survived the 2021 Fantom DeFi market without locking any tokens.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, and I'm going to sell those. So but yeah,
I mean, like people will be able to buy them, dude.
Like I almost threw up. I didn't even have Liquid Driver locked up. I almost got sick for people seeing that, they had been locking Liquid Driver at like $5 and $6, and it was like $47 and nobody could unlock.
Yeah.
And that's not any shade to the protocols. I mean, it was a meta at the time, Curve was doing it. People were making money on it when the market conditions were right. But I think that's a great little twist on it to say, hey, my tokens are way up. Sure, I will sacrifice earning some of these fees and emissions and whatever, and you can get out of your position if you want to. So I know that they're kind of like, at least in all their marketing or materials, I feel like they're kind of trying to avoid saying they're V3, but the system is definitely very akin to that. And somebody asked me over the weekend, like, what do you think about like is there too many DEXs already? And I said, I think in the right market situation, think about how many DEXs we had last run. I think if there's volume to go around, the more the better. That's more farming opportunities. I mean, because like last run, I was doing that, I was farming stuff, Spooky, Beethoven, Spirit, wherever, you would have stuff all over the place. So, I mean, I think with the right volume, I think there's plenty of room for everybody. And I think that in their case, they're bringing in a little innovation, a little bit of a twist. So, bring it.
Yeah.
Shout out to 24.
Yeah. Shout out to 24. Yeah, I agree. I think there can be room for them for more DEXs, depending on how efficient they are and how efficient the market is, really, right? Like the options that they provide by having the variation between the DEXs can sometimes, just serve different market conditions more effectively. You got people bouncing around all the time anyway.
I just think, it's like, it keeps things kind of moving, when there's, because that's, that was kind of what was nice about it before was, you might be farming a token, like a LP on one site, and then, the next week somebody says, hey, we have a better APR on this, come over here, and it keeps everybody on their toes. I mean, I think that's kind of why concentrated liquidity was a little bit avoided in the first place. It was going to require everybody to, do a revamp, and, it's a whole different system and the way everything works. And yeah, at that point in the market, it's like, do you put that much effort into, like, reskinning your product when, we had all the stuff that everybody was going through, and, the chain conditions at the time. So I bet very rapidly we see everybody getting concentrated liquidity, which, yeah, that's a good thing. So
yeah, I think it's an interesting product. I can see kind of why a lot of people would resist integrating it, because it's complicated. It's really complicated.
Not as easy
Educating users on how to use it is difficult. But it just occurred to me, and a lot of like the copy for Shadow Exchange, they call it like a PvP type exchange, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's what I've seen that copy in the blog before, in his blog, that it's like a PvP style thing, which I think is a really great point, because I think he was using it in reference to like the tokenomics of it, like that if you're in longer, you don't have to pay as much to get out, right? Like you don't have that fee. But how those V3 models really work is they are kind of like PvP. Like you got to be really fixated. You got to be microing. Like World of Warcraft, bro, your APM's got to be insane in order to get the most out of your V3. It's not a set it and forget it like V2 or just like a typical liquidity pool. Where your biggest risk is like IL and massive fluctuations. You're kind of controlling how much IL you can get and permanent loss you can get. Like if you set that range really tight, price could fluctuate minorly and you're completely out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, you have to baby those positions, but I think that also lends itself to V3 because, on a V3 DEX you have to be active at least once or twice a week, if not more. I mean, of course, I'm sure people like us, I'm checking in every day, but you have to be in there once or twice a week. You're needing to see the bribes, needing to see what's going on. So to me, it makes sense, so, hey, if you're only checking in before Epoch flip, you can at least go check on your position and go, oh shit, I'm out of range. Time to, scoot it a little bit.
Maybe in the, near future, your financial advisor, that's going to be his day. That's what he's going to be doing like all day. He's just going to be
just changing your CL positions.
He's going to just be like micromanaging your CL positions. He's going to have like 10 different dexes open, and he's going to be making sure that liquidity is like being like most efficiently provided. I'm telling you, dude, that's how serious it can get. I've talked to some IL guys. They got freaking systems, bro. They got playbooks they're running.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I'm still, mostly still kind of a mix. But yeah, I mean, my bigger LP positions, I have to go, obsessively see if that little green dot's glowing that says I'm in range. So,
and we got I think it'll be a good fit for Fantom, to be honest. I mean, I was kind of worried people might bounce off because we do have a lot of, kind of casual people in Fantom. They don't want to get too involved in this, but we also got some uber nerds, so probably it'll work out.
I think it will. Yeah.
Best of luck to them. Shadow, great example of new stuff coming up on Fantom. Hoping to see a lot more new projects entering Fantom, being built on Fantom. I'm hearing whispers of other stuff being built, but I haven't really heard anything concrete yet. I don't know about you, Dracula, but I've been hearing some people are working on stuff. That sounds like so hypothetical, but I've heard on good sources that more things are incoming soon. So hopefully we'll have a lot more to talk about in the coming weeks. One thing, though, that I'm kind of disappointed with is, I promised my investors that I would hit the gritty live on stream if we hit if we broke through 85 cents on Fantom without me being liquidated. Unfortunately, that did not happen. I guess the power of dance is not enough to move markets anymore. But guys, let's try to send it, dude. Let's kind of get my long in the profit again, please.
Yeah, send this shit to 86 cents so we can get a really good video of the gritty.
Oh yeah, the gritty dance. I don't know how to do, but I will learn for you guys.
You will learn.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dracula. Fun, dude. It was a fun show, man. I had a lot of fun doing this with you.
Yeah, man. It's going to be nice just to, there's just things to talk about again. So, yeah, looking forward to many more GMs.
Yeah, buddy. we're racing headlong towards Sonic. Guys, be sure to tune in Tuesdays and Fridays. That's what we're planning on here at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, guys, we'll see you again next time.